Welcome into Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott, and we are high atop a potentially chaotic Saturday morning here in Denton, Texas. I'm joined by a panel of analysts of Josh Ortega, Huston Hall, Matthew McDowell. Fellas, we got to talk about what happened last week, Friday night. Who could have seen this coming? Wait, I know who's.
Oh, here we go.
I know who saw it coming.
Here we go.
I did, and some mean things were said to me for my correct opinion on the South Florida game. So if in unison we could all just say, you were right, Wyatt, that would make me feel a lot better.
Someone get him on Twitter. Please, someone get him on Twitter.
Well, you know what I have noticed, though? Each week where we all have picked UNT won. So maybe you're the one that kind of threw it off.
No,
so maybe,
I don't think that's right.
Maybe you should say sorry to the people at home.
No, I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah,
North Texas falls to South Florida by a heaping score of 63-36. Guys, the team kind of did, all jokes aside, UNT kind of did fall flat on their face in what was their most anticipated game of probably program history. It's unfortunate. What did y'all think from that game?
I think it was really a tough performance from UNT, obviously, going into this game. They were the favorite a little bit. Obviously, the line was super close, but you think about the hype around this game. The crowd in this game was absolutely phenomenal, but just felt like in the second half, especially in that third quarter where South Florida scored 28 points in 3 minutes, everything just kind of fell apart. And the defense was kind of into this game, but they weren't. The run defense continued to be a problem. They had 5 total turnovers in this game, and that just can't happen. They're 1-12 in games where they have 3 or more turnovers before this game with head coach Eric Morris. Like, it doesn't matter if you're Ohio State, you're Alabama, or you're the Idaho State Flying Taters. It doesn't matter. You cannot have 5 turnovers in a game against a ranked team and essentially try and come out and win. It was just, that was one of the big things in this game, and one of the big reasons why they fell.
Yeah.
Well, I think really what you saw is finally the freshman quarterback had a freshman level performance. To this point in the season, he's done a great job of taking great care of the football. And that's what's really been able to win games for UNT is the turnover margin, because the defense has been getting turnovers. And then we had only had 3 turnovers, I think, coming into this game. And then we come out with, like Josh said, 5 in one game. So like I said, freshman level performance from the freshman quarterback. And, you know, we say, oh, UNT fell apart in the second half. It was really like a 3.5 minute span there where it was with the bad mistake at the end of the second quarter. And you come out, have a bad drive on defense. Interception where they get the ball at, I think, the 15 or 17-yard line, something like that, and the scoop and score is really just, 3.5 minutes or so where what fell flat on their face. Like you said, it wasn't really the whole second half, and I think it was just a mental thing. I wasn't necessarily watching a talent disparity that I thought, but it was really just a mental thing of where at some point the moment weighed too heavy on this UNT team. That's what it looked like from my perspective.
Yeah, Matthew, what'd you think?
I agree with Houston, but I also kind of think, with something that Houston said last week when we were going against Army, it's like the defense either forces a turnover or lets the other team score. Like, I don't know if I saw the South Florida, or actually I think I did see him maybe on the first drive, or no, that was a fumble. But I can't remember when the South Florida punter was out.
I don't think they punted. Did they punt? I don't think they punted. I'm almost positive that South Florida didn't punt the entire game.
We muffed that one.
Don't remind me. But in the first half, especially, we had like opportunity on opportunity to go by 2 scores, extend the lead to 14 points, and we would either just like have a terrible drive or have receivers drop on back-to-back plays or throw just an unneeded interception. And like that one by Messamaker down on the left side of the sideline, I mean, it was kind of more of a punt.
Yeah.
I don't really know like why I didn't just throw it out of bounds. It was a freshman mistake, if you will. But it was just UNT not capitalizing when they had opportunities and then just opening the door wide open when USF did. And USF capitalized on all their opportunities, which was the biggest differentiator in my opinion.
Yeah, and South Florida did not play well at the start of this game. I mean, they gifted UNT a handful of turnovers. The first 2 were unforced fumbles. Like, I mean, it was just a bad exchange between quarterback and running back. And then the interception was a bit of a more of a forced turnover. I think that was a good play by the defensive back. But nonetheless, South Florida did not play their A-tier game, and they still were able to put up 63 points. And the biggest thing that allowed them to do that was their rushing attack and the woes of the UNT rushing defense. 300 rushing yards, over 5 yards of carry for South Florida. I mean, that right there is unacceptable. You're never going to win football games if you can't stop the run. And that's something that this UNT defense has struggled not only with in this season, but the past 2 years under Coach Eric Morris. They have had really poor run defenses, some of the worst in all of college football. So how does that get rectified, if it does at all? And if it doesn't get rectified, how is that going to hinder the rest of our season?
I think that the biggest thing is, like, we've seen this offense kind of relieve it in a way because they're staying in games or they're absolutely just bombing any team with offense, right? This game, we saw them keep up, but then we saw their defense just fall apart. And that's the biggest thing here. It's one of the hardest things, because if you have a good offense but you don't have a good defense, you're just going to bleed a bunch of points like we saw. And so this run defense we know has been a problem. I don't think it's going to get any better, especially in this matchup versus UTSA, which we'll get to later. But I think the biggest thing is you have to really extend those leads, or at least have a huge lead for at least this defense to not be a big issue in the run D.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, watching that defense play, sometimes you kind of think, well, clearly, we're small up front. That's why it's more of a supposedly pass rushing D line, not so much run stoppers. And so then the solution is, do we stack the box more? 7 men in the forcing unit, sometimes even 8. Well, then you risk, not having enough men in the secondary. Mm-hmm. And we got torched a couple of times by South Florida, which is a running football team. And Byron Brown, 22 28 for 245, a couple of really, bombs there. It's not going to get any better because today, who do they have to see? Robert Henry Jr.
Yeah.
So, he's would you say it was 4th in FBS in rushing yards? Yeah. And so with Owen McCown, he's not great, but he's good enough.
I think he's a better passer than Byron Brown.
Probably. Yeah, you have to respect him for sure. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, it's just they got to be more fundamentally sound, tackle better, fit the gaps better. That's a couple things they're not really doing well right now, and they better figure it out in a hurry.
Yeah, Matthew, what'd you think?
I like Houston about being fundamentally sound and filling the gaps. And our D line isn't heavy at all. We have pass rushers pretty much across the board. I mean, who's our best D lineman in y'all's opinion? Maybe Ethan Day?
Probably so, yeah. He's an edge rusher.
Smaller, kind of undersized defensive end who gets put at tight end half the time.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's something that, if we're going to have to improve that, I think it's through the transfer portal. I know we talked about Eric Morris, how the rushing defense, hasn't been great under him, but he's an offensive-minded guy. Yeah. I mean, when you look at his history, he's been a quarterback coach, he's been an offense coordinator. Now he's a head coach with offense, it's as explosive as almost any offense in the nation. So I think it's just a talent disparity at that point, and a discipline in filling your gaps and form tackling. I mean, how many tackles have we seen this year and last year that are just either arm tackles or just easily broken tackles?
Yeah.
So I think that's a transfer portal issue that I don't know if we can fix this year.
I think it was a talent disparity, to be honest with you. I think South Florida just has a different caliber of athlete that UNT does not have, especially in the run game. I mean, they have some big humans on the offensive line. Byron Brown is a great runner. He's a great runner of the football. And I just don't think UNT has the guys on the defensive line that's going to allow them to stop a rushing attack like that. They're going to have to get creative and think outside the box. Coaching staff knows this probably. They're going to have to find different ways to get stops. They've done a great job of forcing turnovers, but that's not you can't just replicate that week to week. Forcing turnovers, there's a bit of a luck factor when it comes.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. So the next thing I want to talk about is, does this kind of change your opinion about this team, and what does your season outlook still look like? Because South Florida is by far the best team we'll play all season, so I don't want to overreact too much to this game, but 63-36 is a pretty glaring score, especially with the favorable conditions for you the entire way. So what is your expectation now for this team going forward?
I think that we knew this game was, of course, going to be the biggest game that we saw all year, right? There was no way that it wasn't, because, again, the talent level that South Florida has was much better than any team we had played all throughout the year. Look, they still have a very favorable schedule coming up. I think their best game going forward is the Navy game in a few weeks. But, look, we know that this schedule is going to get easier. We know this offense can put up points. I think at the end of the day, as long as they bounce back this week or in these next 2 weeks, we can potentially see this team be at what they were going into South Florida, but it's a big loss, and we knew the talent level was going to be a huge gap here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really liked what Josh said about how important it is to bounce back, because this is where the mental aspect of the game comes into play. You look at last season when we took our big loss to Texas Tech, we were able to bounce back and win, I think, 3 straight after that. But then after losing the game to Memphis, that started like a 6-game losing streak skid. So which of those 2 responses kind of is what happens? Look at Utah, for example. They got checked against Texas Tech a couple weeks ago, and since then have blown the crap out of a couple of teams. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's important to be able to respond. So it doesn't change my opinion of the way UNT is at this point. I will really decide that after today to see how they respond, because that's really the most important part, is how you respond to failure.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't help but think that they got fraud checked just a little bit. I mean, obviously they did to an extent, but I mean long-term throughout the season. Now when I think about it, none of these games are going to be guaranteed wins, because if you can run the football on us, then you can beat us. And so, especially if Drew Messemaker is forcing things and throwing interceptions. Now, I think he forced things because of the moment, the level of competition. He knew he was going to have to do more, especially when you're playing catch-up and you see 63 on the other team's scoreboard. You're going to force some things because you want to try to shrink the gap. I understand that, and not every game's going to go that way. But he did show that he's human. He's going to make mistakes. And so I think that I worry a little bit going through the season in games like Navy, of course, who is better than Army significantly, and they're going to run the ball a ton. I think Temple is way better than a lot of people thought they were going to be this year. UTSA is obviously pretty good. So, I mean, if you drop all your toss-ups, you're looking at an 8-4 team, and that would be incredibly disappointing after such a good start. Matthew, what do you think about the rest of the way?
I mean, when you talk about the rest of the season, and if we go all the way back to August, and let's say we lose, like hypothetically, I'm not trying to get any bad luck on this, but let's say we lose against UTSA and Navy, it's a 9-3 season. Mm-hmm. Is that disappointing at all going into the year? No. Let's say we beat UTSA and we lose to Navy. Is 10-2 bad?
No.
No, that's great. Let's say we run the table. Let's say we go 11-1. Is that not a great season?
That'd be a fantastic
at the end of the day? I mean, I don't know if we'll go 11-1, but 10-2 is so unbelievably realistic from what we've seen in this team. And 11-1 at the end of the day is realistic. And 9-3, that's kind of would be not a failure, but 9-3, yeah, definitely not a failure.
I think that'd be a pretty good season.
Yeah, that'd be a good season. Like going from where we were, like 5-0 to 9-3. Obviously, it's not the best thing, but a 9-win UNT football team, is that not like? Are we not happy about that? I know looking back where we were 5-0 like last week, now we're 5-1. Obviously, it's a different story, but 10-2, 11-1, that's a very good, successful season by Eric Morris in year 3. Like, I'm very happy with that. I know USF, we were like, oh, it's a first sellout ever. It's going to be on ESPN Friday night, blackout. Everyone's hyping it up. YouTubers at the game and stuff like that. But, I mean, this is a ranked football team. This is a top 20 team in the nation. I think this loss is going to age very well. And I think South Florida is going to be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Matthew, about like the recalibration of expectations that people have had. If you went into this season before the games that have been played and you said, hey, UNT is going to go 9-3, people would be overjoyed with that record. Now, if you tell them after they start 5-0, hey, you're going to finish 9-3, people would be mad. But that's not really a fair lens to look at it through. You know, you get to 9-3 one way or another. Sometimes you start 5-0, sometimes you start 2-3. I think that that's important to not have, like, don't move the goalposts for this UNT football team. If they finish 9-3, that's still a good year. They go over their win total. I think that would be phenomenal. And if they go 8-4, I think that would still be a pretty good season. Even though the way that the season started, you wouldn't think they would end that way. But I think it's important to not recalibrate these expectations. When we come back, we will take a look at some of the biggest headlines across all of college football here on Mean Green Game Day.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Hasbell, and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my God! Oh my God! This girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my God.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our Mean Green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. Guys, it was a pretty chaotic Saturday this past week. There was a lot of crazy games, but the first thing I want to talk off has nothing to do with the football games. It has to do with a coaching search. James Franklin is out as the man at Penn State. I want y'all to talk about this because I actually have quite a few things to say about this. It makes me feel a certain type of way. I'm not too happy about it. Guys, y'all talk.
You should go first.
Let me end it off.
Okay,
y'all talk about James Franklin right now and this firing by Penn State.
He wants us to throw the alley-oop, and he's going to just dunk on it. Either way. Look, I mean, it's just a gut punch at the end of the day. They lose their second game in a row to this time to Northwestern, 23-21. I mean, they lose Drew Aller in this game too, which is something I know what he's talking about. But just a rough game for Penn State. Their season is kind of zipped up and done. But at the end of the day, look, they burned $50 million to get rid of James Franklin. I know the big stigma around him was that he couldn't win the big game, hadn't been a ranked team since 2016. My biggest thing is I just don't think you can get anybody better. Like, there's no guarantee right now. There's not like there's this one premier guy in college football that's going to take this team back or excel at what they've been. Obviously, they made the playoff last year, and they played a lot of iffy teams in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to burn $50 million to have James Franklin go somewhere else. You're in the middle of a season, which I don't entirely agree with getting rid of a guy in the middle of a season, because now you're going to have recruits back out. You're going to have guys just kind of not knowing what to do with their season, and some of these guys are going to be going into the draft.
Yeah.
So you're not 100% sure what Penn State's going to be down the way. We know their season's basically done at this point, but I don't agree with it. $50 million burned. I would have taken that, but
I don't know if you heard Penn State fans. Apparently, Nick Saban's going to be the head coach. Urban Meyer's going to be offensive coordinator, and John Gruden's going to be the DC. So
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves to kind of throw out hypothetical names like that. I think I even saw like Ed Orgeron's name get brought up, and I'm like, come on now, guys, let's be a little bit more realistic. Some names that I did see that were a little bit more realistic. I saw like Matt Rule from Nebraska, which I don't think that's an upgrade. I really don't. I mean,
I agree.
I know James Franklin didn't win the big games, and then these past couple weeks he hasn't won the small games
Yeah,
either.
he hasn't won the little games at this point.
Yeah, but Matt Rule barely above 500 in 2.5 years at Nebraska. I saw Coach Summerall from Tulane as a name mentioned as well, and then probably the one that I actually am a fan of at this point, since I heard that Coach Signetti at Indiana is out. The one is Matthews guy at Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz. I saw his name get brought up. I think he was third on the list, but I really think that without Coach Signetti in the running anymore, I think that that's the one that should go for it.
I agree with you. I think Drink is one of the better coaches for that job. I mean, that just seems like a pretty big culture fit. I don't know, like it just makes sense to me to see Eli Drinkwitz there at Penn State. Matthew, what'd you think about this crazy
I love
move?
y'all hyping me up with my takes about Eli Drinkwitz, but mine's a little bit more like a little bit of a hot take, maybe flash in the pan, but I'm going to go with Alex Golish out of USF. I mean, the past 2 seasons, we've seen him rally that team, get fired up emotionally, and the way he's taken that program and lifted them into a top 20 team with the resources that he's going to have at Penn State, I don't know why it wouldn't work. I mean, we talk about James Franklin is so good, or like, I don't know if there's a better option. Is James Franklin that good? Like, at the end of the day, what has he proven to make us say, like, oh yeah, this is certified, really good coach, like this guy knows how to run a program? Like, what has he done to make us think that about him besides coach for that logo? At the end of the day, I'm not that high on James Franklin. I don't know if you are. I don't know what the look you're giving me right now. I don't know if I'm lobbing it up for something good or something bad. But I've frankly been very unimpressed with James Franklin during his tenure at Penn State. And I
like that.
Oh yeah, play on words there. Appreciate you for catching that one. But I could honestly see Alex Golish. I mean, he's 41 years old. He's almost the same age as Houston. So I mean, he's a pretty young coach that could get fired up around recruits, fired up against the team, and turn a program around in USF. So that's my pick.
Poor Houston.
Well, I was going to assist Matthew in his take, but I'm going to leave it alone
No. Come on, keep on hyping me up.
Doesn't get it.
Wyatt, go ahead.
All right, so Penn State is going to pay $50 million just for James Franklin not to be the head coach at Penn State anymore. They also have to pay out the assistants, so it's going to be at least another $10 to $15 million. Then you have to hire a new coaching staff, and if you're paying him anything like you did for James Franklin, it's going to be close to $30 million to $50 million, and pay his staff. And you want to pay some players to win right away because you fired him because he couldn't win the big one. So I'm assuming you still want to compete for the big one. So
and you've seen all the decommitments.
A ton. I counted 8 the last time I saw it. It could be more by now. And so now you have to pay players to go win. So you're looking at north of $120, $130 million decision. And where is the upgrade? We have talked about this now. Where's the certified upgrade that's better than James Franklin? Kurt Signetti, I think, if you could have went out and got Kurt Signetti from Indiana, it would have all been worth it. But he's gone. He is not an option anymore. Indiana coughed up the money. They say, hey, we're taking football serious. We're going to pay him big time. He's making over $11 million a year. So now that's not on the table anymore. Matt Rule, I mean, I'm no disrespect to Matt Rule. Fine coach. Is he a clear, definitive, better upgrade than James Franklin? Absolutely. I don't think so.
I would only see him going if Raiola went with him.
And I could see that being like a little like quarterback, offensive, or head coach, kind of package. But even if that happens, is that a definitive upgrade over Drew Aller and James Franklin? Probably not. No. And for them to do this at the time that they did, look, say what you want to about James Franklin not being able to win the big one, okay? I understand that criticism. He took over this program in a terrible spot. They were in the middle of the Sandusky stuff. They had a black mark over this program. No one wanted to be involved with it. And he dragged them out of the dark ages. They hired him out of Vanderbilt. A powerhouse like Penn State had to go take the Vanderbilt head coach just to find a coaching job. So this was not a glamorous position when James Franklin took it. And he dragged them out of the dark ages and took them to 6 10-win seasons in 9 years. I just think that I understand the bottom fell out on this season and that a lot of money was invested into it. And, you built up this year as being the year where they make the college football playoff and, push for the national title. They were the number 2 team in the preseason, and the bottom fell out, and they lost to UCLA and they lost to Northwestern. I understand that it was a disappointment. But I think that you just have to look at his body of work. He has a Big Ten title. He has a playoff appearance with multiple wins. He has 6 10-win seasons. I just think it was an overreaction in the middle of the season to fire a guy that's been so loyal to your program and done so much for it. And now you don't have a clear upgrade, and you're down $120 million.
Well, yeah. Think about it too. Like after the Oregon game, we're all saying, "Hey, maybe this team has a shot." Then they dropped 2, and now they don't even have a coach. They don't have a quarterback. Again, like Wyatt just said, there is really no clear upgrade. You're going to have to really cough up north of almost $130 million for just not only firing the head coach, but the staff and everything like that. There's no winning in this situation, especially now with Kirk Cignetti locked up in Indiana for 8 years. There's no winning.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And so let's move on and talk about some other teams that could be on the hot seat, or excuse me, some other coaches that could be on the hot seat. James Franklin is now gone. There's been a couple of other coaches that have gotten canned now to start the season. The obvious ones are out there. Billy Napier at Florida, Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Let me know what y'all think about this.
I can't wait to talk about Billy Napier. I've always talked about I'm never ever when we do our best bets in our picks of the game, like I'm never picking Billy Napier. I mean, I don't know why this dude has. I think the only reason he has a job is because the players love him. Am I wrong? I mean, last season he beat Ole Miss. He came down. He made some wins happen. But what does this guy provide to Florida? In my opinion, I feel like they could have so many better options out there. And honestly, just Florida, if I were them, just snatch Alex Golish up, get some transfers from USF, and turn that program around DJ Lagway. I don't know how the Byron Brown DJ Lagway stuff would go with Golish, but in my opinion, I would say a Billy Napier. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we sat there and talked too long about James Franklin, and so we have to move on. Coming up next, we'll take a look at some of our best bets.
The do's and don'ts of the Pole Rec Center. See that man over there? Please do not hog weights. Instead, do this. Another important part is having an attentive spotter. See, here is an example of a non-attentive spotter. Instead, do this. Now we head to the track, which should be pretty easy, just it's important to pay attention to the way the track goes. Remember to wipe down the equipment after you're done using it. The towels are provided by the gym, so it's pretty easy to wipe down the equipment when you are done. Thank you for using the Pole Recreation Center.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott, and today we are going to take a look at some of our best bets around all of college football. I will open things up with my picks. First one I'm going to go with is Ole Miss versus Georgia. Not going to take any of the teams here. I don't really have a good feel on those, but I do like the under in this one. It's sitting at 57. There's some 57.5 sitting around there. I just think this one's going to go under because of the play styles that's going to play out today. Georgia's going to want to run the ball a ton, and I think they're going to have a lot of success with it, and that's going to drain off a lot of clock. I don't think Ole Miss is going to be able to consistently move the ball. They might hit a chunk play or two. I just see this thing not getting up super high in the point total, so give me under 57.5 for Ole Miss and Georgia. Any pushback on that one, guys?
No.
I like it personally.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Washington, taking on Michigan in the Big House. Not always a big fan of taking road dogs, but when the number's right, the number's right. I think Washington is an incredibly quality team. DeMond Williams is one of the better quarterbacks in all of college football. Last week, no one talked about his performance. He went for 400 passing yards and 150 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. I mean, that was one of the better individual performances of the season, just in complete dominant fashion. They took down Maryland in Washington. And so, yeah, I like them coming up against Michigan. I just don't know where the points are coming from from Michigan. Like,
you know what the money line on that one is?
I don't.
I wouldn't be scared to take Washington outright in that one, honestly. Yeah. I mean, I picked Michigan last week versus USC, and they've just kind of like dog water.
What is the money line on that one?
You want me to research that real quick?
I do. Matthew's going to research that.
Give me a
for
second, ladies and gentlemen.
Matthew's going to look up what the money line is for Washington versus Michigan. But I think that the dogs cover +5 pretty effortlessly. And then USC plus 9.5, another road dog. I just found myself liking these numbers for these road teams. They take on Notre Dame in South Bend. It's a must-win for both of these programs, if you ask me. USC really can't afford a second loss. I mean, they can afford a second loss, but like you don't want to pick one up so early in the season against a quality opponent. So they need this win against Notre Dame. I think that Jaden Maiava is going to redeem himself a little bit from last year, where he had some whoopsie-daisy interceptions. He's just a whoopsie-daisy kind of player. I love Jaden Maiava, but like he is a whoopsie-daisy player. Like he just makes so many silly mistakes. You're like, why would he throw that?
Nobody talks to me about the pick he threw against Michigan, man. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a gunslinger. He's kind of crazy, but you live and die by it. And then for my money line sprinkle, I like South Carolina plus 170 against OU. I think that's pretty good value if you want to take a dog outright. You get them at home. Oklahoma just came off of an embarrassing loss against Texas, and South Carolina's got a pretty good defensive line. I just don't think Oklahoma's going to be able to run it. I know that there's questions in the secondary and at the linebacker position for South Carolina, but that's why they're a dog. And Lenore Sellers can kind of turn into Superman and spot you some points. I think that's a pretty good underdog right there. Matthew, what'd you find?
Found right now it's plus 146. The spread has moved a little bit, so I'm even surprised it was maybe a plus 150 last night, but plus 146 isn't too bad value on Washington.
Plus 146 if you want to take Washington at the big house for the money line. Josh, let me know what you got for your best bets.
Well, since we're talking about Washington, I'm going to talk about the Huskies too. I mean, I agree. I'm going with them plus 5.5. I think that Michigan struggled again last week against USC's high-powered offense. I think that this Huskies offense is really good, and I think that Michigan's going to struggle again. Even though they're at home, I feel like this Michigan team needs to find their identity. Again, USC was super physical against them, and they really bullied them off the ball. Wow, I just stuttered so hard. Holy cow. I couldn't remember what our stadium was called. In the Coliseum, Josh, come on. Either way, in the Coliseum, I think that this Washington team is going to absolutely beat the brakes off Michigan. I'm going to go USF minus 21.5 over FAU. FAU has struggled a lot this year, especially against quality teams. They let out 39 against Maryland. In week one, they allowed Memphis to put 50 on them a few weeks ago. I think that obviously this USF team, as we saw last week, can score a lot of points. So I'm going to get them at minus 20.
Is that at FAU?
I think it is at FAU.
I figured it was, because that number seems pretty low, and they usually don't do that unless it's on the road.
Yeah, I think it's at FAU.
And to butt in, they got in early on the Washington bet. Right now the line currently sits at minus 4.5, so get on those two for being the early bird and getting the worm on that one.
We knew this yesterday, but either way, my next bet, Texas minus 12.5 versus Kentucky. They played a decent game against Oklahoma. They're in must-win mode really right now still. They need to win the games that they know they can win. Obviously, they have Kentucky this week, then Mississippi State next week. Before that, a little bit of a gauntlet of a schedule for them. If they can get to 9-2 by the end, when they go into that Texas A&M team, they could easily be in the conversation for the playoffs. So I think they need to win this game. Minus 12.5 over a Kentucky defense that has been struggling.
I'm gonna fight you against that. I think that Kentucky's actually the way to play this, and I'll tell you why. Texas is down. They're starting center Cole Hudson. He's going to be out for some time. They are going to be going on the road against Kentucky, and this is a Kentucky team that wants to bog this game down, and I mean, they're going to play at a snail's pace because they understand that they're out-talented, and they understand that this Texas offense has struggled to find rhythm the entire season. I just don't know how many points are going to be scored in this one at all, so I don't know what the margin's going to be. I don't see it getting past 10. I'm looking at probably closer to like a 24-14 win, and Texas not getting the cover.
And not to little bro you, Josh,
but
also, I mean, when we look at Ole Miss, I mean, they're an undefeated team. Granted, they had a scare last week, but Kentucky held it to a 7-point game against Ole Miss early in the season. That was kind of during their quarterback kind of carousel, if you will. But I mean, Kentucky held it close against Ole Miss. There's no reason why they can't against Texas.
Kentucky is very bad. Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah, we're not hyping up Kentucky.
Kentucky sucks. It's just the spot and the way that they want to play this and the way that the Texas offense has struggled.
Let's hope I don't get clipped and this is me getting dunked on here.
Or Matthew and I can both get dunked on and you can have an I told you so moment.
Well, we'll see. I did it last week when you guys all picked Oklahoma. So
yeah, there you go.
Either way, moneyline sprinkle. I'm going with Bowling Green minus 166 over Central Michigan. Obviously, they want to have their starting quarterback Drew Pine. Look, they're favored by minus 3.5 right now. This is a Bowling Green team that is looking to get above 500. Same with Central Michigan here. I also did put Pudge the Cat as part of the reason why I picked this. Of course. How can you not? Either way, I think Bowling Green wins this game. They played a really good game against Slater with the backup quarterback. I don't think the Central Michigan passing defense is very good. And I think that this Bowling Green rushing defense is really going to play a factor here. So I'm going to go Bowling Green as my moneyline sprinkle here.
All right, Houston. Take it away.
Let's hear it.
All right.
Let's see what you got, kid.
For my section, I want to change the title of this block from Best Bets to Risky Bets just because it's me that's making them.
Oh, God.
So we're going to start off with what you said about the Georgia and Ole Miss game, except contrary to what you said, I am going to pick one of the teams and go with Georgia by 6.5. My reasoning for that is I think Georgia has been tested far more than Ole Miss has at this point. Ole Miss looks to be a lot more fraudulent. 6.5, it's only a touchdown.
So where'd you find that at 6.5? Was it FanDuel?
Yeah, this was yesterday.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I couldn't find one below 7.5.
I'm not getting in on that early.
I like that though.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wait till
Yeah,
last
right now
minute.
it's 7.5.
I like that 6 and a hook. I think that's playable there.
Yeah.
Lock agreement between Houston and I.
Oh, awesome. You never see that between
That
me and
means it's
Matthew.
not happening. Hey, bet Ole Miss money line with all your life savings.
So I thought it was important to note also that this is the first road game that Ole Miss has had since Trinidad Chambliss took over at quarterback. And I think that that's going to come into play, especially with that Georgia defense. They're only allowing about 17 points per game. So that's why I went with Georgia in that one. Moving on to an American Conference game. Big spread here, but I'm going with Memphis by 21.5 over UAB. Outside of the 1-point win that Memphis had against Arkansas, their average win margin is 29 points a game. Also important to note, UAB, 130th in rushing defense. They're giving up 213.2 yards per game. Memphis has a guy named Greg DeRosier. I don't know if y'all have heard of him, but he's running for about 200 yards a game right now. So I thought that was, kind of a surefire thing for, him to have a whole, army of touchdowns against UAB. So
UAB's been a dead man walking here for a couple of weeks. They just fired their coach.
Exactly.
Now the dynamic is in play of when a team fires their coach, they come out like super inspired and they like keep games way closer than they should. I think UAB is bad enough where it's not going to matter, and so I like that pick there by you, Houston.
Oh, well, thank you.
Look at these two agreeing. Whoa.
Sorry, man.
I'm going to then go for my third bet with UNT versus UTSA, except I'm not going to go with the spread. I'm going to go with over 65.5 points.
There we go.
I think that
I got scared there for a little, Houston.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to bet on UNT.
I was not going to do that.
Actually, I wouldn't mind if he did that.
Are you just saying that?
No, you want him to bet on UTSA.
Well, I mean, y'all are agreeing right now. I don't know if Houston's turning a new page or what.
Well, he's trying to. Anyways, so with Robert Henry Jr. and UNT's rush defense, I thought that obviously, and then with UNT's offense and the way they can put up points, I thought one of these teams might score 65.5 by themselves.
Yeah.
Now, like me and Matthew were talking about before the show started, probably now what'll happen is this thing will rain. And it'll be like a 17-13 type of game after I just made that bet.
Yeah, it'll rain. It'll get lightning delayed.
Yeah, all the things that are bad for the scoreboard will happen.
There'll be like a turf issue, like the turf got cut up.
Like Utah a bunch of years ago.
Yeah, they got to delay the game and stuff like that. So yeah, thanks a lot, Houston.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. So, and then my last pick for the money line sprinkle, I've got Marshall with plus 124 over Texas State. I'm not high on Texas State right now. They have not yet won a Sun Belt game. And then Marshall, fresh off a 40-24 win over Old Dominion, which, by the way, Old Dominion was previously the only non-American Athletic Conference team that was like in contention for the Group of 5 bid. Like they were playing well. They played Indiana like really close at the start of the season, so I was pretty high on them. And then Marshall came out and just donkey stomped them.
Yeah, they did.
It
wasn't even competitive.
So, yeah, and like I said, Texas State 0-2 in conference, and one of those losses is to Arkansas State, who also isn't very good. I think they're like 2-4 or something like that. So that's why I went with Marshall for that one.
All right, man of the hour went 3-1 last week in his best bets. If you want to make some money, you might want to tail him. Matthew, what you got?
All right, so I kind of
Wipe
did the
that
same.
smirk off your face.
I mean, I got something good coming up. So, I mean, hopefully we'll show up this graphic right here. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, bang. We got this. Oh, wrong hand. We got this graphic right here. These are all my picks. If you like what I'm saying, if you think I'm a smart guy, you can take these. But at this point, I don't got too much time left in the block, so I might just fade Houston with everything he goes. I mean,
my God.
This is going to be Anyway, I'll just go with my picks. Houston talked about the big spread with the Memphis spread. I'll talk about even a bigger spread with Toledo, minus 25.5 over Kent State. Kent State's looked terrible this season. Their only wins are over UMass and Merrimack, and their win over Merrimack was by like 4 points. They've been blown out by almost every team and lost against Buffalo recently. Toledo was a favorite in the MAC coming into the season. They've been a little disappointing, but I still think they're a very good team. Give me Toledo minus 25.5. For my next pick, I have Clemson minus 5.5 over SMU. They were train wreck to start the season, but they picked stuff up, looked good. They looked amazing versus North Carolina, but in all reality, who hasn't? SMU's also looked bad. I don't really know what Cade Klubnik's status is right now, but give me Clemson minus 5.5.
Is that at Clemson?
Yes, it's at Clemson. I'm like 99% sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not in Dallas. Whoa. But then kind of going over what Wyatt said earlier about, teams that just recently fired their coach and are at home. He talks about not liking to bet on SEC road teams. They're dogs. I'm going A&M minus 7.5 over Arkansas. I mean, A&M should walk this team. Arkansas got dog walked by Notre Dame. They lost to Memphis, who is a good team, but they are a group of 5 team. A&M's a top 5 team in the nation. A&M minus 7.5, but I could see them rallying around firing their coach, even though Sam Pittman, I think everyone loved him. They got Bobby Petrino coming in as their interim head coach, and that dude's got all the tricks up his sleeves, everything. Wish we had a graphic of him in the neck brace with his little girlfriend or something like that. But anyways, nonetheless, going on to my last pick. This is not a money line spread, and this is not the conventional spread. This is a spread of UNT minus 14.5 for a value of plus 280. I'd be surprised if UTSA keeps this one close. I think what we talked about, the moment maybe being too big for UNT earlier last week. You know, the student section is selling lots of tickets. There are going to be a lot of people in town for homecoming. I think UNT is now ready for that crowd. They're in the all greens instead of the all blacks. I think they respond well this week and get a big win.
I like that. The alternative spread there for UNT minus 14.5.
Plus 280.
Plus 280 is pretty good
That's
value.
like
Yeah, I
money,
mean, if
folks.
you think the UNT is going to come in here and beat the brakes off UTSA, then yeah, I like that. You're going to get some value for it as well.
Or just fade everything Houston said.
Or just fade Houston all the way.
And parlay it.
All the way to the bank. Yeah, and parlay.
Can we move on, please?
Yeah, we can move on.
Wait, what was
just,
your record last
Just
week?
for Houston. No, don't embarrass the boy. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about how UNT can bounce back in a big win against UTSA.
Willis Library, located at the University of North Texas. It has computers, printers, and the building is open 24/7. By going online, you can book up to an hour of reserved space at one of the many private study rooms. Many of them are equipped with whiteboards, a table, and a TV to hook up to your computer. Textbooks can be checked out for free with a student ID. They also have many of these in ebook forms. This is still a library, so always remember to be quiet and respectful of other surroundings, especially in certain places where talking is not allowed. For example, the 3rd and 4th floor are completely quiet. As you can see, Willis Library has many options for students, with it offering many media sources and staying open all the time.
What's wrong? Are you stuck in your paper?
Pretty much. I haven't written anything in like an hour.
Why don't you check out the Writing Center at UNT?
Well, how do I meet up with them?
All you have to do to make an appointment is visit the Writing Center's website and either call the number or email writingcenter@unt.edu. The appointment is 30 minutes long, and the trained tutors will be able to help with brainstorming, correcting grammar, ensuring clarity, and a wide range of services. They also do walk-in appointments.
That sounds awesome. I'm gonna check them out.
So, when's this paper due?
30 minutes.
For more information, visit the UNT Writing Center's website.
Yeah, it's 6 pages.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott. UNT takes on UTSA at DACU Stadium once again. This is probably the second toughest game that they'll have to play all season against a pretty good UTSA team that hasn't quite lived up to expectations so far. Guys, how in the world is UNT going to bounce back after what happened on Friday night against South Florida?
I think you just kind of have to play a little mad, a little angry. You know, you gotta embarrass that home against a South Florida team that's very good. But you think about, you got all those people out in the stadium just to lose by 63 points. You got to play a little upset. That's not the way you wanted to go. You wanted to go into this game ranked. You wanted to go in this game inside the top 25, and that just didn't happen. Obviously, with the South Florida game, as the highlights we see now, Drew Messmaker showing the wheels and getting in the end zone there.
Yeah, I didn't know he had that in him.
Yeah,
Whenever I saw that, I was like, okay, Mesty, all right.
Sneaky athletic.
Sneaky athletic, yeah,
High motor player.
lunch pail kind of guy.
Yeah.
Get a
First in, last out.
Well, that's an unfortunate highlight.
Jeez, talking about his wheels and interception. Either way, look, you got to play a little upset. You
That guy's got real wheels.
That
Sorry,
guy's
that guy's got
that
real
guy
wheels. I
can
mean,
fly.
he can play.
Either way, you gotta play a little upset, a little angry with last week. Obviously, this UTSA team rushing is probably higher caliber, if not equal to USF, with Robert Henry, who leads the top 4 in FBS in total rushing. So it'll be interesting to see the run defense in this game. But you got to play a little upset. You got all these people coming out. I know it's raining now because Houston obviously said it was going to rain. Now it's actually raining. So
Thanks, Houston.
thanks.
Thanks, Houston.
Either way,
Weatherman now.
you got to play upset here.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's really a mental thing to me. I think it's just really important that we refocus. Kind of like I said, after last year when we lost to Texas Tech, we were able to come back and win 3 in a row. You got to have that type of response and not the response we had later in the year when we lost to Memphis. I also think it's really important that offensively this team gets back to their identity, which is running the football well. We only averaged like something like 3.7 yards a carry, something like that against USF versus where every game before that, except the Lamar game, I think it was over 5 yards a carry, just running the ball extremely well. And you also have to get back to taking care of the ball. You see a turnover there off the fumble by Simeon Evans.
This play was like the worst. Like
shout out Landon Sides.
Landon Sides was getting rage baited.
Oh, I wish we had that on highlight. I'll forever be a Landon Sides fan.
He got rage baited bad on that one.
Hey, he gave it back to him. I mean, what's he gonna do? You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's really important for the run game on both sides of the ball. Have to get back to being able to run the ball offensively, and you got to find a way to start stopping the run game on the defensive side. And like I said, got to take care of the ball. 5 turnovers against USF, only 3 in the previous 5 games combined. And that's really how we've been able to win games. There's been a couple of close games that we've won just because we didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's going to be extremely important that we don't turn the ball over against UTSA today.
What's the health status of Caleb Hawkins?
I heard he was, iffy at the start of the week, but as far as I know, he's going to be ready to go.
Okay. We need your insider report, the Lambda Chi insider report.
Yeah.
It's kind of iffy this week. What's up with that, Houston? You're your trusted source. Anyways, as we go on, I'll talk about UNT now. I like what Houston said, believe it or not, about UNT getting back to their identity on the offensive side of the ball.
You say that a lot. You piggyback off my talk.
When it comes to being at the end of the table, that happens sometimes. I got all this stuff lined up, and I think sometimes you just might be looking at my notes.
I'm actually looking this way for the entire hour, so I don't know how that's possible.
Whatever.
These two guys. I mean, my Lord, these two.
Let's stop fighting and focus on UNT winning a friggin' football game. All right, anyways, enough with that. They did get embarrassed by USF. The final score was 63-36. The highlights cut short, but that's okay. But UNT does need to get back to their identity. They need to run the ball. I mean, Caleb Hawkins, if he's out, we still have running backs like Mackenzie McGill. Clearly, Messermaker can clearly run the ball now after we showed his sneaky athleticism on the touchdown play there. But I think we need to just be smart on the offensive side of the ball. We can't chase the game. If we chase the game, that's not going to be good for us defensively. We need to force 3rd and longs. We can't let them be in second and 4, 3rd and 2. They're just going to run the ball, and more than likely, UNT is not going to be able to stop it, which sucks to say, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's true. You need to force the defense needs to force their offense to be in 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 12s, and the offense needs to move the ball efficiently and not get caught behind and having to force something to win the game. I think we'll see what Messermaker is truly made from in this game when it comes to smart decision making and throwing the ball and not having 3 interceptions. I mean, not all those interceptions were on him, but some of them were. But I do believe UNT needs to get back to their identity. And, I mean, at the end of the day, to win this game, you're going to need to force UTSA in 3rd and 6 and longer. Because if it's 3rd and 5 and less,
they're going to run it.
Not confident in the defense. And who says let's say it's 3rd and 5, they get a 3-yard gain. Who says they don't go for it on 4th and 2 and 4 and 1? Like, at the end of the day. Yeah. Anyway, sorry for getting off on a tangent with me, Houston, and everybody else, but we need to win this freaking football game. Back to you, Wyatt.
No, I agree, though, Matthew. I think you made some good points. And something that Josh brought up earlier is that the pass defense is still ranked like top 15 nationally. Yeah. I don't know how legit that ranking really is. It will be tested today because Owen McCown is a much more capable passer than what Bynum Brown really is. And so that's kind of what I want to ask y'all. Is this pass defense going to get fraud checked, or are we going to be able to corral the UTSA passing attack?
Owen McCown's been kind of up and down. He's been really good, but he's been up and down. There's not really been a level of consistency with him. I think the biggest thing is getting to him. We saw last week with South Florida, they sent a lot of blitzes. Obviously, this UNT team doesn't blitz too much, but I do think that you need to get him either on the ground or make him uncomfortable to have to force things, because he does have that tendency. He is Josh McCown's son, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
so
that is
that definitely is in the blood and the genes. Either way, I think getting him is going to be important. Obviously, stopping the run is going to be very important. How well that's going to happen, we will see in about 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, roughly. But getting to Owen McCown is also another factor they really need to harp on here.
Yeah, Matthew. Or, sorry, Houston. I'm so sorry. Y'all two are like,
first,
when y'all start arguing with each other, y'all just get.
Maybe he just wants a real ball nowhere to go.
Okay.
Houston, go ahead.
Well, yeah. So something that you said about Owen McCown being better than Byron Brown, I don't know that I totally agree with that. I look at his numbers, and it's pretty mediocre. 64% completion rate, 12 to 4 TD to INT, 204 yards per game. I think that it's, he's about the same level as Byron Brown. I think that Byron Brown had a great game throwing the football against us, minus the interception, just because even though they as a team ran the ball well and he had a lot of yards, it took him 22 carries to get like 80-something yards. So we kind of did not that bad of a job keeping him from running, and we did make him throw the ball. We just got beat probably coming up to try to make the tackle a couple times before we were really not playing good discipline in the secondary. So I think it's important to keep McCown in check because he's another quarterback that he'll throw the ball to us if we make him throw the ball. But it all starts with stopping Robert Henry before we can even get to that point.
I agree. That is the red flag and the biggest problem. Matthew, what do you think?
I'll talk about the pass defense. You asked if it was really that legit. I think one of the biggest things in our pass defense is our linebackers. I mean, Ethan Wazlowski and Shane Witter both have interceptions this year. They're not known necessarily for their run-stopping abilities. I mean, Shane Witter leads the team in tackles. He's been great this year. But, I mean, I think the linebackers are a big part of covering the middle and underneath routes, and they give the DBs, safeties, cornerbacks freedom to play the zones that they do. And if we go man coverage, then we'll blitz and put pressure on McCown and possibly force them to give us a ball. So I think it is a little bit to our linebackers when it comes to filling the gaps in the run game, but staying sound-minded defensively to be able to play the pass as well.
Yeah, and let's talk about the elements. We've talked about it a little bit so far. The weather could be a factor in this one, like legitimately. And so let's see, as you can see on the radar there, heavy showers coming in the DFW area.
What is this, Fox 4?
Yeah, apparently so. If we are going to see like rain like that, this game tilts in the favor of UTSA, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when you look about running the game, the ball's going to be slippery. Oh, yeah, look, we even got the Fox 4 cam.
God,
Look at that.
we're so
Unbelievable.
cool, dude.
We're so dialed right now.
We are so
But when it comes
cool.
to running the game, I mean, you see slugfest. I mean, when you look back at NFL films, you'll see games that are just like mud bulls of like Franco Harris running the ball for 300 yards. I mean, the rain isn't going to make it any easier on this center snapping into Mestamaker when we're in shotgun or stuff like that. It's not going to make it easier on Mestamaker to, take the hike and be able to throw it 30 yards down the field or a 15-yard dig to Landon Sides or Caleb Dorner or Miles Coleman. So, I mean, it will favor UTSA. But, I mean, hopefully Houston didn't just jinx us too much with the over that all the rain's going to come and, lightning delays. Luckily, we are playing on turf. So
That's true.
that might help it a little bit.
It'll be slick, though. It'll be slick.
That's what I'm saying. But, I mean, at least,
at least it's not going to be like dragging the field off to the sidelines with you. So.
We won't see like UTSA in their jerseys just be like one side completely brown, one side white, or even UNT's jerseys turn from like mean green to like forest green, something like that. So I mean, it will play a factor in the game. We'll see how it plays out, but hopefully Houston didn't get us too bad on that one, dude.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Thanks a lot, Houston. All right, coming up next, our last and final block, we are going to take a look around all of college football and predict who's going to win the big ones.
Now we return to Fabric of Passion.
Oh, Hector, it will be so hard for us to part, but we must.
But, my love, what did I do? I thought we were meant to be together forever.
I am so disheartened to say that you're just not in style anymore. But you will be, to someone else, in a better place.
You're gonna shred me?
No.
I'm donating you to one of the many clothing donation boxes available on campus. There is one in the Union by the Syndicate and one on Union Circle Drive.
Oh, well, why didn't you just say so? I'm gonna be someone's new shirt.
I thought you'd be more distressed.
Oh, absolutely not. It was cramped in your closet anyways.
Maybe you would like to be shredded after all.
Ugh, a 20-minute walk? I don't want to do this right now.
Don't worry, you can just use Transit.
Transit? What's that?
Transit is a mobile app that provides real-time tracking to connect buses, UNT shuttles, and even A trains. Simply download the app, then tap on the search bar and type where you want to go. In a matter of seconds, you get results for all available routes. And the best part of it is, it's completely free for UNT students.
What are you doing? I'm downloading it right now.
Download Transit today and remember, make life better without a car.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott. Let's take a look around college football and predict who are going to win the biggest games in the sport this weekend. To start things off, we got the Georgia Bulldogs taking on the Ole Miss Rebels. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm not quite sure exactly which way it's going to go. All I know is that Gunnar Stockton's not going to throw the ball for a whole lot, and this Georgia defense is going to limit this Ole Miss offense. I think Georgia's going to run the ball a ton. I think they're going to dominate time of possession. They should dominate the trenches. The Ole Miss defensive line took a giant step back from last year after losing some guys like Walter Nolan, most notably, former 5-star. I think this is going to be a run-heavy game from the Georgia side. It's going to be a pass-heavy game from the Ole Miss side, but it's not going to be a lot of completions. I think they're going to find themselves in a lot of third and longs and undesirable situations for the Rebels. So give me the Dogs to win this one in Athens.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same thing. I'm going to go with Georgia here as well. I'm just not really sold on this Ole Miss team yet. You know, they're in the top 4, but I'm just not sold on them yet. Lane, please do not clip me on Twitter and, put this on
He
your
is, dude.
Don't take this and put this on Twitter.
Lane Kiffin watches Mean Green Gameday.
I know. Like, don't clip me here. But I'm going to go with Georgia. Again, I agree with Wyatt said. I think they're going to run the football a lot. This Georgia team kind of lacks a little bit of physicality, which is kind of scary for a Georgia team, but I just don't think this Ole Miss team matches up well. So I'm going to go Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, I think it's interesting with the Ole Miss game that happened last week with the 3-point win over Wazoo.
Huge look-ahead spot.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to figure out how much of that proves fraudulence and how much of that proves that they're just not focused on the task at hand, that they were just looking towards Georgia. I am still going to go with Georgia in this game. I think it'll be a lot closer than you would think. A team that only won by 3 against Wazoo would play them, but I am going to take Georgia, and as I said in my best bets blog, I'm going to take them to cover as well. I just think with Gunnar Stockton, like you said, he's probably not going to throw the ball a whole lot, but he's a good game manager. He doesn't really turn the ball over. Only 1 interception all season long. They're going to run the ball a lot. The Georgia run game is pretty solid, as well as the defense only averaging 17 points allowed per game. So I'm going to go with Georgia.
Yeah, you know what Ole Miss did last week? They looked at their team notes, went into for the Washington State game. They said they lost 59-10 to who? North Texas.
Is UNT better than Ole Miss?
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what the math says.
Matthew, who you got in this one?
All right, let's get a 2-shot between me and Houston right here if we can. Maybe go back to Cam to get a wide shot and get a 2-shot with the two of us right here.
Goodness.
This guy's a little contradictory in what he was saying. He was like, I think it's going to be a super close game, but I am taking Georgia to cover the spread. So what do you think the score's going to be? Me and Houston are Lane's boys. When they played LSU, we took them. So, I mean, what do you think the score's going to be?
Well, first of all, the spread is only 6.5. So if they win by 7, that's a 1-score game. Does that not count as close?
I mean, I'm just asking.
What do you guys think?
Don't drag us into this. No, it's just like y'all two duke this one out. It has nothing to do with me and Josh.
I'm picking them to cover the spread like the spread was 15.
Leave us alone.
I'm not subbing in.
Okay, well, I think it's going to be pretty low scoring because of the way the Georgia defense and offense plays. They're kind of game managers on offense and then defense that's really just a slugfest. So I think it's going to be a...
Doing the math in your head right now?
I am doing the math in my head. I'm working out the numbers. I think it'll be probably like a game in the 20s, so like a 28-21, 28-17 type of game.
Ooh, big spread cover there. Anyways, I do have Georgia listed here as my pick. I do have the Dogs winning this game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Sony Michel, Nick Chubb-esque performance with the way this game is going to be kind of old-fashioned. Georgia old-fashioned Dogs. You see the scrawny white guys with all the body paint and the pads in the stands in Athens. But, I'm really tempted to maybe just switch up my pick here to Ole Miss. What they're saying, Houston was he's piggying back off of what we're saying. But I am going to go with the Dogs a little reluctantly after I heard what all of them had to say. But, I do think it's going to be a close game. I think Ole Miss was preparing all for this game. And I think they're going to maybe punch Georgia in the mouth here early, maybe take it first half, go into halftime with the lead. But I think Georgia's going to Georgia, Kirby Smart's going to Kirby Smart, and then Athens, the Dogs are going to take the dub.
I agree with that, the way you see that playing out. I think Ole Miss might jump out on this one, maybe get up early, get a couple of quick hitter touchdowns. But as the game wears on, I think Georgia's going to start to lean on Ole Miss, and the Dogs are going to come away with a close win. Next game on the docket.
By how much?
Don't get me started.
Here we go.
Up next on the docket, we have the third Saturday in October, one of the oldest rivalries in the sport. Alabama takes on Tennessee in Bryant-Denny Stadium. I got the Tide rolling in this one. I just think it's a good spot for Alabama. They had a close win against Missouri last week. They get to come back home and celebrate with a rivalry win against Tennessee in Bryant-Denny. Josh, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Alabama, too. I think Ty Simpson has played phenomenal, and I just worry about this Tennessee defense really getting to Ty Simpson. If they sit back and they can't rush the passer and they let him just eat them up in zone coverage, it's going to be a long day for the Volunteers. I'm going to go with Alabama here. I think Ty Simpson's playing really well, even though he lost Juice Wells in last week against Missouri. I think that this team's going to play really well, and I think that they are really ramping up as the season goes on.
Yeah.
Well, we all know Tennessee and their number 1 scoring offense in the country at 48 points a game. It's important to note, obviously, with Chris Brazell over 500 yards receiving. They also got a couple other guys with over 4 bills apiece in the receiving yards column there. But I am also going to agree with you two and go with Alabama because, and the reason for that is Alabama's offense to Tennessee's defense. Tennessee's defense is 107th in scoring defense. They're averaging almost 30 points allowed per game. So I think that Alabama is the more balanced team, offense and defense, versus where Tennessee, if they're not scoring 40 points, they're not really winning this season. I mean, we saw it when they played Georgia earlier in the season. I also think that Alabama's been the more tested team to this point. I mean, Tennessee had their one test against Georgia, and they failed the test. So I'm going to go with Alabama.
You know, I'm going to go with Alabama as well. I hope to see Caden Proctor, the big boy, get involved again in the offense. Maybe get him a little fullback dive on the 1 yard line, a little William Fridge Perry touchdown, something like that. I could see that happening. I don't know what the money on that is, but I mean,
what's Caden Proctor anytime touchdown? I wonder.
Got to be like plus 10,000.
Definitely higher than what it was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Now that they've shown it a little bit.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm going Bama. I like the points that were set. I think Tennessee's defense is definitely a weak point. I don't see Alabama giving up over 40 and not returning the favor to Tennessee. So give me Alabama.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Vanderbilt takes on LSU. This one is in Nashville. If you told me going into this season that Vanderbilt would enter this game as home favorites against the Tigers, I would have called you crazy. But that's reality right now. And because of that, I'm going to take Vanderbilt to win this thing. I don't know where the points are going to come from LSU. It doesn't seem like they can score on air as this season's progressed. The run game's been non-existent. Garrett Nussmeier has struggled behind an inexperienced offensive line. The LSU defense has been really good, but they haven't gone up against – no team goes up against an offense like Vanderbilt. It's so weird. It's so funky, and you can't prepare for it like any other defense that you usually do. I think Vanderbilt wins a close one against LSU.
Yeah, I'm going to go with LSU here. Look, I don't like both of these teams in any of this spot. I think that both these teams I'm really iffy about. Obviously, LSU with Garrett Nussmeier being banged up, that inexperienced offensive line is a huge stretch. And it being in Nashville is really tough. I'm going to go with LSU really because I just got a feeling, guys. It's in my gut. I don't know what's going on. But I think that the defense is really going to help them here. I think that, for one, Vanderbilt struggled against Alabama's defense, which I think LSU's defense is a lot better. It's a much more cohesive unit. Only 11.8 points per game for this LSU defense. But really, you can't prepare for that Vanderbilt defense. I'm going to go LSU.
That's a good money line sprinkle if anyone wants to take that action. I think if you're getting that kind of value on such a great talent disparity, I think LSU plus the points is a good play there. But I just think Vanderbilt is going to win this thing outright. I think Vanderbilt's just they got dudes all across that roster. I just think they're good enough to go out there and win the thing outright.
Well, I'm also going to go with Vanderbilt, and my reasoning for that is because on the LSU side of things, Garrett Nussmeier is throwing almost one interception every game. He's got a 9-to-5 TD to INT ratio. And Vanderbilt's defense is averaging almost 2 turnovers, forced per game. And then also on Vanderbilt's side, Diego Pavia, almost 1,800 yards of total offense. He's got 16 total touchdowns. He's doing so pretty efficiently at 71% completion rate, and he's averaging 5.9 yards per carry on the ground. And LSU offense, man, is just not clicking. I mean, they're averaging less than 20 points a game against SEC opponents, and Vanderbilt's defense is definitely nothing to scoff at. So I don't think that's going to change against those folks over in Nashville, so I'm going with Vandy.
Yeah, Matthew, what you got?
I'm going to go quick because I want us to get through all of our picks and predictions, but I think Vandy's going to get freaking turnt, and all the bachelorette parties in Nashville are going to get freaking turnt with Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt football team. So give me Vandy.
My Lord. Utah takes on BYU in the Holy War. This is one of the greatest rivalries in all of the sport. It doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Utah takes on BYU. I got the Utes winning big in this one. I think it's just going to be fraud check time for BYU. I think they're going to come back down to reality. Utah's the best team they've played all year. Give me the Utes.
Yeah, Utah, I'm going with them as well. I think they're the 1B in the Big 12, and I think that BYU has not played a team like Utah this season, so I'm going to go Utah as well.
Yeah.
Oh, BYU freshman quarterback against a really good Utah defense. Like I said earlier, Utah has really come back well after that loss to Texas Tech. Devin Dampier, I wondered how he'd respond. He's got 8 total touchdowns in 2 games since the loss to Texas Tech.
And he's gotten healthy since the loss to Texas Tech.
This is true. And that defense is also only allowing 12 points per game in those last 2 games, so I'm going with the Utes.
I think this is going to be a little bit of a boys versus men matchup. I think against BYU, Utah's going to soak in the rivalry and get a big dub here, so give me the Utes.
I mean, my goodness. Does this guy stop? He just doesn't. USC takes on Notre Dame in South Bend. I mean, I'm just at a loss for words at this point. I got USC winning this one. It's a must-win spot for the Trojans, taking on a 2-loss Notre Dame team. Give me USC.
I don't think it's a surprise. Where I'm going with this, I'm going with USC. Look, I think this team basically out-physicaled Michigan last week. Notre Dame has struggled against very good teams. You look at what happened last time in South Bend on a primetime game against Texas A&M. They were absolutely flying on offense, so I'm going to go USC here.
I'm going to contradict Josh and go with Notre Dame. Notre Dame's been playing with their hair on fire ever since that 0-2 start. The average win margin is almost by 30 points in the last 4 games for them. Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price almost have 1,000 yards combined. That's a lethal running back tandem on the Notre Dame side. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame.
You know, last time Notre Dame had a big game was versus Texas A&M. That was coming off of a loss to Miami. Nick Saban was talking about that this is a must-win game for Notre Dame. I mean, the way the rankings are sitting right now in the state of college football, that wasn't necessarily a must-win game. But I think this is for Notre Dame more than USC. I think Notre Dame's expectations going into the season were higher than USC's. And I like Marcus Freeman a lot more than Lincoln Riley, so give me Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's fair. Can't argue with that. Now it's time for the main event, the tale of the tape. North Texas takes on UTSA in Daku Stadium, seeing if they can bounce back from the bad loss against South Florida on Friday night. I got North Texas bouncing back in a big way against UTSA. If the weather is bad, UTSA could win this thing outright, but I'm going to stick with my priors, and I'm going to go with UNT to win this one. Look at the forecast right there.
Look at the forecast. I'm going to go with UNT.
Our crew is so
I know,
great.
they are flying today. Either way, I'm going to go UNT as well. I think that the bounce back spot is really good here for the Mean Green, and I think that they really need to bounce back to continue going forward in the season, so I'm going to go UNT here.
I'm also going to go with UNT, and my reasoning for that is because, as we talked about with the weather, of course, that could benefit UTSA because they're the stronger run team of the two. But I think that in a way, it could also benefit UNT because, as I mentioned earlier, is it maybe time to start stacking that box a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
And you can stack the box more comfortably in the rain, knowing that Owen McCown's going to have a harder time throwing the football.
That's
so
true.
I'm not entirely sure that UNT might also benefit from that on the defensive side, maybe have a chance to actually, at least slow them down on the run game. So I'm going to go with UNT.
Matthew, what you got?
Solely because, Wyatt said he thinks it's all about him when it comes about these pickings with UNT and the last week with USF. Just because almighty host Wyatt Schott said it's all about him, I'll go with UNT as well, giving us an outright 4 UNTs to 0 UTSAs. So, hopefully bounce back big time to get a dub here on Homecoming versus a rival.
I'm glad you've come around, Matthew.
Yeah, whatever.
That makes me happy. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been a wonderful show. Thank you to all of my talent. Thank you for all of the crew back there. Thank you so much for watching at home. This has been Mean Green Game Day. Check us out on our socials at NTTV Sports, and thank you so much for watching.